Hello and welcome to the craft room here on the farm. My name is Alicia with Country Mama Musings, and I'd like to welcome you back for block 21 of our Heirloom Afghan crochet along. Look at this beautiful square. This is the flower square. We will be working some rounds with this beautiful three-dimension flower in the center of a traditional granny square. It is a beautiful, beautiful pattern that you could work up for a wedding gift for a bride-to-be, or as a baby shower gift. You could use baby weight yarn and make a whole bunch of these little squares and then attach them together and have a beautiful little baby blanket that would be a treasure that would be passed on from generation to generation. So go ahead and grab color A, your size H crochet hook, and one little stitch marker. You're going to need that for our first few rounds, and let's get started. I'm going to start with a slip knot, leaving myself a nice long tail to sew in later. You know, I've noticed in a lot of crochet posts on Facebook, many are saying, oh my gosh, my work's coming undone, and I'm so disappointed in some of the squares that I've done. Not for this blanket that we're working on, I'm just talking in general. And it's because you don't leave a long enough tail to sew in. I've actually seen some videos where some will actually only leave a tail this long, and then they don't understand why their work's coming undone. Leave yourself a really nice long tail that you can sew in later. Okay, for this pattern, for our flower square, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to place our hook in the 4th chain from hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is technically our first chain. We're just going to slip this in here, grab our yarn and pull it through, and pull through the loop that's on our hook, and this creates this little ring. We've done this before. We're going to be placing our stitches in this ring now. Okay. So moving on to round 1, now that we have our ring established. For round 1, we're going to slip stitch. We're not going to chain anything. Don't do anything other than placing your hook into that ring. And if your tail gets in the way, it's okay to kind of push it aside there a little bit. Into that ring, and we're going to pull it back through and then slip it through the loop that's on our hook. And this is our slip stitch right here, not what's on our hook, but right here is our slip stitch. I want you to go ahead and get your stitch marker and put it through both loops, the front loop and the back loop there, of that slip stitch, just so you can mark it, because you're going to need to go into that later, and it's just easier to find that way. Okay? Now then, we're going to place 3 double crochet into the ring right here. So here's 1 double crochet, here's 2 double crochet. So let's talk through that. It's yarn over into the ring, grabbing our yarn and pulling it through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on our hook, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops on our hook. Okay, that's 2, and here is 3. Okay, now take your work and grab your ring a little bit and push your work aside, because this is one of those ones where we're going to run out of real estate real quick. So you want to make sure you have plenty of room in that ring. We're going to slip stitch into that ring. Do not chain, just slip stitch into the ring. There we go. And you can see it just kind of makes this cute little petal for our flower square. 3 more double crochet into the ring. Here's 1, 2, oh, my dog barked. She's upset she's not up here with us. And 3. It startled me. Okay, and once again, we're going to push that work aside, so we've got plenty of room in our ring here. Don't get confused about where this is. Don't go into your first chain. Don't go into the slip stitch. We're working into that ring. So we've got our 3 double crochet. We're going to slip stitch into the ring again, and that creates our second little petal. We're going to go ahead and place 3 more double crochet into the center of our ring. Here's 1, 2, and 3. It's a tight fit, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. It's tight. Push Oh, those stitches over to the side there. You just want to get that last little bit here. Oh, it's okay to be a little forceful. You see how long this stitch is right there? We don't want that. I'm going to take that stitch out. I'm going to redo that one. You don't want that long, long stitch, and that's why it's so important to kind of push things aside so you can actually get into that ring and complete a nice stitch without all of that length in it. So here's 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch into the center of our ring again. And now we've got 1, 2, 3 petals. We've got to get one more in here. And one more petal is going to be 3 more double crochet. So here's 1. And again, this is going to be a tight fit. Get what you can in there. Here's 2. And here's 3. Now the reason I recommend the stitch marker is because by the time you get all of your double crochet into that ring, you're going to have a hard time finding that slip stitch. And it's just right here. We've got it marked. And the other thing is too, it's going to be a little tight, especially with your size H hook. So since I've got this stitch marker, I can kind of give it just a little bit of a jiggle and open that up a little bit. Let me go ahead and take the stitch marker out now. And it just gives me a really nice defined place where I'm going to put my hook. Take that out and get my hook right where and it's hard. It's going to be tight, guys. It really is. Make sure you go through 2 loops on that slip stitch there. There, we got it. Look at that. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to slip stitch through that slip stitch, and that closes our round 1. And it creates this little 4 petal flower. Isn't that cute? 4 little petals there. Moving on to round 2. We've slip stitched and closed up round 1, and we're going to chain 1 now. And we're going to our first petal here, and our first petal consists of 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. We're going to locate the middle double crochet right here. We're not working our stitches in the top of our stitches. We're going to be working around the post of our middle double crochet in each petal around. So here is our middle double crochet of this petal. We're going to insert our hook from the back up in between the first and the second double crochet. We're going to place our hook back through to the back in between the second and third double crochet. So we're capturing that middle double crochet back here to the back of our work. We're going to yarn over and pull through the petal and then pull through the loop on our hook, completing a slip stitch. And now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to our next petal now where we've got 1, 2, 3 double crochet. We're going to locate that center double crochet right there. Find that post. Go up from the back of your work in between the first and the second double crochet of that petal, and then push it back to the back of your work in between the second and the third double crochet, capturing that middle double crochet and completing a slip stitch. That's 2 petals, and you can see it just kind of gives this little divot now in the middle of our petals, giving them just a little bit more definition. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Going over to our third petal, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to locate that center double crochet, going up from the back of our work, going around the post and back out through the back. Yarn over, completing a slip stitch through that petal and then the loop that's on our hook. There we go. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Going to our next petal, we're going to locate that center double crochet, going up and around the post from the back, and yarn over and complete a slip stitch through that petal and the loop that's on our hook. Now we have 1, 2, 3 chain 3 spaces, and we're kind of almost back to where we started, but we need one more. We need a chain 3 space up here. So we're going to chain 3 one more time. Here's 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go over to where our chain 3 spaces, where we first slip stitched into this first petal, not where we joined from the prior round. Just going to go into that slip stitch. and complete a slip stitch, and that will be the last stitch of this round. So we have our 4 chain 3 spaces towards the back of our square now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we've got one here up at the top, and that completes round 2, and you can see that our petals are starting to become a little more defined and really pretty. Let's move on to round 3. For round 3, we are going to slip stitch into this first chain 3 space here. So we're going to slip stitch. That brings our work over to where it needs to be. And then we're going to complete 5 double crochet in the very same chain 3 space. We're not chaining up. We're just going to go straight into the double crochet. So we're going to place 5 double crochet into this chain 3 space. So here is 1 double crochet, 2, 3. You're going to run out of real estate again real quick. So make sure when you get partway through, push your work off to the side a little bit. 4 and 5. And then we're going to slip stitch right back into this chain 3 space where we just placed all of those double crochet. That brings this back down and creates an additional petal. This is round 2 of petals for our little flower, so this creates a petal. Moving to our next chain 3 space, we're going to slip stitch into that space, that chain 3 space, and we're going to complete 5 double crochet. 1, 2, give myself a little more room, 3, 4, again a little bit more room, and 5. And then we're going to slip stitch right into that same chain 3 space, completing our second petal. Moving on to our next chain 3 space, we're going to slip stitch into that chain 3 space and do 5 double crochet. 1, didn't want to cooperate, did it? 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then slip stitch into that same chain 3 space to finish that petal. We've got one more chain 3 space to work on here. We're going to slip stitch into that chain space and complete 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then slip stitch into that same chain 3 space. There we go. So here are our 4 petals of round 2, but we need to close off this round. And how we're going to do that is we are going to slip stitch into the very first slip stitch we made, which is right down here. Make sure that you grab that little slip stitch. And again, it's going to be tight because it's a slip stitch. There we go. It's tight. Slip stitch into that there. There we go. So here's round 2 completed. We have 4 little petals of our round 1, and then off center a little bit are our 4 little petals for round 2. This is going to start coming together beautifully. It's a really beautiful little square. I misspoke. It's actually, we just completed round 3. Round 1 was our petals, and then we had round 2, which was our chain 3 spaces. This is round 3 that we just completed with our little offset little petals here, and so we're ready to move on to round 4. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to slip stitch now in between the petals from the prior row, working from the back of our work up around the front. That doesn't mean we're working through any of these posts. We're actually working in between the petals right here. So we're going to come up where this first petal is, and then go down where the second petal is. We're going to grab our work, pull it through both of those petals and the loop that's on our hook. And so it's a little tricky, little finessing there. There we go. And this creates a chain 5 little space here behind our petals. Now if you need to fold your petals down as we're working later, you can. Don't worry if they kind of push them forward. It's okay, that's going to be all right. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to go between this petal and this petal. Where they come together, we're going to come up from the back into that chain space there, and then push down through the next petal, going back to the back of our work, pulling our yarn through and through the loop on our hook, completing that slip stitch. That gives us another chain 5 space back here. Another time here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. Going in between this petal and this petal, finding this space here, going up from the back, and then pushing back down through the back, grabbing our yarn and pulling it through to complete our slip stitch. That gives us 3 chain 5 spaces back here on the back of our work. One more time, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we've got this petal here and this petal here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into this chain 5 space and just complete that slip stitch there. That closes off that round. And so what we have is we have our first row of petals, our second row of petals, and on the back here now we have 4 chain 5 spaces to work with for our next round. All right, let's move on to round 5. Now that we've completed our flower and our petals, now we're going to work on the squares. So now that we're in this chain 5 space, we're going to chain 3, and that will count as our first double crochet now and throughout. Place 2 more double crochet in that chain 5 space, 1 and 2. Push your work to the side a little bit there and chain 2. And then place 3 more double crochet in that same chain 5 space. Here's 1, 2, and 3. And like I said, you can pull this petal forward while you're working in this chain 5 space if you need to. It's going to flatten back over, and that's going to cover that. So it's fine if you need to manipulate your work a little bit. No worries there. We're going to chain 1. And then we're going to rotate our work a little bit here, and we're going to go to our next chain 5 space. And as you can see, like I said earlier, it's okay to fold that petal forward a little bit so you have access to this chain 5 space here. And we're going to create 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and in the same chain 5 space, 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And this creates our granny square going forward, and this is our corner. See, these are our corners we're putting in. We're going to chain 1, moving to our next chain 5 space right here, again folding that little petal forward. We're going to place 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3, chain 2, and 3 double crochet in that same chain 5 space. 1, 2, and 3. That's our third corner. Chain 1, folding our next little petal forward and finding our chain 5 space. 3 double crochet in that chain 5 space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, pushing your work aside a little bit, and 3 more double crochet in that chain 5 space. 1, 2, and 3. That completes our fourth and final corner of this round. We have to have a chain 1 here so that we have a chain 1 in between our corners. And you're going to locate the third chain up, 1, 2, 3, from our first double crochet. Remember, our chain 3 counts as a double crochet. We'll place our hook in there and we'll complete a slip stitch, and that closes our round. So let's take a look at our flower square now. Let's give this just a little bit of a tug here. So here we're starting our granny square, and you can see that we have our 2 layered little flower here in the center. As you're working on this, you're going to be able to kind of adjust this, get your flower petals to pop out a little bit here and really be a beautiful little 3D little flower. Let's move on to our next round, which is going to be round 6. Slip stitch into the next 2 double crochet right in the top here. Make sure you get both the front loop and the back loop, and slip stitch through the top of that double crochet. Here's our next double crochet here. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into our first chain 2 space right here. And what that does is that brings our work over so we're able to start our next round right here in the corner. All right, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and remember that our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to place 2 double crochet in that same chain 2 space. 1, 2, chain 2. Make sure that you push your work aside a little bit so you've got room to place 3 more double crochet in that same chain 2 space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, go to your first chain 1 space right here, and we're going to place 3 double crochet in that chain 1 space. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, and we're going to complete our next corner in the next chain 2 space, which will be 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So here's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochet, chain 1 and 2. Pushing our work aside a little bit so we have enough room to work, we're going to place 3 more double crochet in that chain 2 space. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, go to your first chain 1 space right here and place 3 double crochet. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, and what we're going to do now is we're just going to complete this around. We're going to place in this corner here another corner of 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. We will chain 1 and place 3 double crochet in this chain 1 space, chain 1, and complete another corner here, chain 1, 3 double crochet here, and I'll meet up with you here when we're ready to join our round. We're going to chain 1, whoops, and we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from our first double crochet. Remember again, this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. 1, 2, 3, locate that 3rd chain and slip stitch into that 3rd chain and through the loop on our hook here, and that completes that round. Let's take a look at our square as it's coming together. Look at this beautiful 3D flower. Let me turn it to the side there a little bit. Look at how that pops out from your work. So pretty. You know, this would be a beautiful square to make for a baby blanket or a wedding gift. You could do a bunch of these granny squares, join them together. It would be a beautiful, beautiful gift for a family member or a friend, mother-to-be, bride-to-be. We're going to move on to row 7 now, and it's going to be the same as round 6. We're going to slip stitch into the first 2 double crochet right here, and this brings our work over. We're going to slip stitch into this chain 2 space. Chain up 3 counts as our first double crochet. Double crochet 2 into that same chain 2 space. 1 and 2. Chain 2. 3 double crochet into that same chain 2 space. 1, 2, and whoa, it came right off my hook. That happens. And here's 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet in our chain 1 space, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, and because we have another chain 1 space right here, we're going to place 3 double crochet in here, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and here we are at our corner where we're going to do another 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3 double crochet. Here's 1, 2, and 3. You're going to continue this pattern around for this entire round, again with your 3 double crochets in your chain 1 space with a chain 1 in between, and your 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in the corners. I'm going to work this around, and I will meet up with you here at the end of this round where we'll join this together. Chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from our first double crochet. There we go, and we're going to finish that round. And that's round 8. We have one more round to go. I want to discuss about how you need to count your rounds so that you can follow the pattern once I get it written into the description box. Just be mindful that round 1 is your little center flower. Round 2 was the chain 3s in the back. Round 3 is the 2nd row of petals. Round 4 was your chain 5 in the back. Round 5, round 6, and round 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You're going to want to complete round 7 2 more times for round 8 and round 9, then check your work to make sure that your square is the appropriate size. And I will meet up with you when I'm finishing round 9, and we will check to see if our square is the appropriate size. I'm here on the last double crochet of round 9 of my flower square. We're going to chain 1. We're going to locate our first chain 3 that was our double crochet and slip stitch into that 3rd chain and closing this round off. Let's take a look at our square now. Look at how beautiful that is with this beautiful little 2-tiered 3D flower here in the center. Let's see if our work is where it needs to be. I have a square here that we completed 2 weeks ago, and I grabbed this one because of the color contrast, because it's gray. Let's place this on top here, and look at that. Our square is right where we need it. Once we get our border on here, this one does not have a border on it yet. Once we get our border on here, look at how beautiful that is. Now, like I said, this is a beautiful little pattern. If you'd like to make a bunch of these little squares for a wedding gift for a bride-to-be, if you want to use a baby weight yarn, the squares will be a little bit smaller, and you can put together a beautiful little baby Afghan if you like. But that's it for this square. We've closed off round 9. Go on over to the video now for your edging and complete round 1 and round 2 of your edging. You're going to complete it in the color that you designated for joining, which should be color A. So you don't finish this off. You're going to work your 2 rounds of edging, and that completes this beautiful little flower square for our heirloom Afghan crochet along. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I love this little square. I have half a notion to make an entire Afghan just out of this square alone. Until I see you again up here in my craft room on the farm, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a blessed day. We'll see you for block 22.